I see far too many of you lovely learners struggling with your revision because you're using boring text-based flashcards and the boring, ineffective read-repeat rote learning strategy. And boring learning and revision strategies lead to a bored, disengaged brain. Your brain engages far more with images and colour than it does with chunks of text, especially when you're trying to memorise something. In this video, I'll show you how to ditch your boring read-repeat revision notes and use 4 highly effective memorization strategies that will keep your revision interesting and your brain engaged with your learning. And that means you'll learn faster, so you'll be on top of your revision. I'm using a real example from a coaching session with a student who was completely stuck with her learning. She had to memorize the difference between gram-positive and gram-negative bacteria and be able to recognize a long list of different types of bacteria just from their color and shape. There's a lot to learn on this topic, and my student was struggling and feeling completely overwhelmed because she was using boring text-only flashcards and the read-repeat rote learning strategy. She was boring her own brain and stopping it from learning. Now, the fundamental difference between gram-positive and negative bacteria is that gram-positive stain purple or blue and gram-negative stain pink or red when they're treated and viewed under a microscope. But not only did my student have to learn the meaning of the colour difference, she then had to learn to recognise and name the different bacteria from their shape just by looking at the image, either from a photo or directly under a microscope in her exam. However, this student had created a flashcard that was entirely text-based. It had no images or visual prompts on it, and she'd even written the information in green. She was reading and repeating this boring, meaningless text and boring her brain senseless in the process. No wonder she was struggling to learn. So the very first strategy was to apply meaningful colour coding to the information, so we changed the green text to purple and pink. That immediately creates a much stronger visual link. The second strategy was to reduce the amount of text to memorise by replacing as many words as we could with shorthand symbols. So positive got turned into a plus sign, negative into a minus sign, and we used the equal sign to indicate the relationship. The third strategy was to reinforce the mnemonic connection between pink being negative, which differentiates from purple being positive, by linking the letter N in the word pink to the word negative to create a much stronger linguistically linked mnemonic association. Once my student's brain had encoded that pink is negative and purple is positive using these 3 far more memorable mnemonic strategies of meaningful colour coding, symbolic shorthand, and linguistic linking, she could move on to the next and deeper level of learning on this topic. Now, as I said earlier, this student also needed to memorise a whole list of different strains of bacteria based on their shape, as well as colour. So we quickly had to get to work adding that deeper level of knowledge she knew she'd be tested on. The next step was to start memorising using just the colour-coded images of the bacteria, as that was all the student was going to be given in her exam. By linking this learning to real-world examples, we were able to remove even more text and move further away from that boring, ineffective read-repeat rote learning strategy. So we took each bacterial strain and added additional visual and linguistic prompts to memorise its name and pathology. We started with this one, Neisseria meningitidis, also known as meningococcus. It appears pink, so as we've just learned, that means it's gram-negative. Yes, I hope you got that. See how quickly you can learn using these strategies? It's also a coccus form of bacteria because of the round or spherical shape. To help remember that, we added another layer of linguistic linking by imprinting the letters C and O onto the image. Meningitis, which is caused by the meningococcus bacteria, affects the lining of the brain, so we overlaid the image of the bacteria on an image of the 2 hemispheres of the brain. Now we've created a flashcard that's meaningfully colour-coded using linguistically linked and visual mnemonic memorization prompts, and in doing so we've got rid of boring, text-based read-repeat rote learning. And we've achieved that in less than 5 minutes. I want you to think about how you can apply these simple strategies to your revision and learning so it's more meaningful and engaging for your brain, because that will enable you to learn much more, much faster. Colour code with meaning, replace as many words as you can with shorthand, apply linguistic linking mnemonics, and use as many visual images and prompts as possible especially real-world examples. If you're stuck with your revision and need some guidance on how to apply more creative mnemonic strategies to learning your subject, book a one-to-one study coaching session with me. Your first 15 minutes are always free. Head over to the Unlocked Learners website to book your session today. Remember to subscribe to the channel before you go, and if this video has been useful, please give it a thumbs up and do share it with others.